What's going on, my people? How are we all doing? This should be coming out just after Easter Sunday. It's Easter Monday when I'm filming this bit, but the job you're going to see is previously, and it leads me on to a topic of discussion I have, that some people are installing boilers left, right and centre. They're getting 2 or 3 a week of installs. I don't know whether that's maybe insurance work or something, you know, one of these other companies where people can go online, put in their quotes, and then that company subs it out. I don't know. It could be personal stuff. I don't know. I don't really care. But some people are doing installs all the time, and I barely get any. I think last year, 25, I think I got maybe 5 boilers. And in 2024, I've done 7. And 2024, I thought it was going to be a lot, because I think I done almost one a week from January to February. Yeah, for like the first 5 weeks when I went back to work after Christmas. It's like mid-January through February, and then one of them was a long one. Like, I was there over a week. It's actually on video. Way back. Probably the only install I've got on there, actually. I was installing that ATAG boiler, system conversion. And yeah, I thought, oh, this is all right. I'm getting 1 a week here at least. And then that was it. I done those 5, and I didn't get a single install all the way through till December, and I got 2 more. So that was my 7. But I wonder if this is why. And we'll talk about it why after. Other topics of discussion that is going to be coming up. One is the new tightness test regulations. I guess that's quite important. And not a lot of people seem to know about it. There's a little bit if you're on social media and whatnot, but not a massive amount going on about it. Yeah, let's keep it at that for now. I've got some more questions, a more personal circumstance, but all positive to be fair, but I'll put that into another video, maybe save that for next week as a little bit of a talking point. So yeah, let's jump into this job, and then we'll discuss tightness test regulations. So I've come to this one, and customer has said boiler's firing up, but they got no heat, no hot water. So it's bottom profile. I'll show you. Bottom profile. I turned it on. Hot water's on. Can't really see in there. It sounds like it's lit, but these are stone cold. And then I noticed, let me turn the torch off. Although it sounds like it's lit, it's actually only the pilot. So let's open the boiler up and see. I will get the best angle I can on here, but it's quite a tight cupboard. So I don't know how much you'll be able to see. The fan sounds like it's running anyway. So fan's definitely running, but we're not getting to, pilot's not even lit anymore. So because we've got our pilot lit, what we want to be checking, let me turn that, hopefully you can see there, is a gas valve. Now the left hand one, EV1, GV1 is pilot solenoid, right hand one is main burner solenoid. So main burner, we want to be checking for 240 volts between white and blue. If we get that, then it's a knackered gas valve or solenoid. So yeah, we've got our 240. So I'm going to give it a little whack, see if that helps. Helping a bit, but ultimately we'll try and replace that. But obviously, sod's law, they are both obsolete parts. But I have a couple of places I use where I might be able to find something or other. Green, white, blue. I'll try and get this off. No, it's not coming off. Anyways, maybe that's helped it, whatever I just done. Pulling it about. I know sometimes you can get these going by giving them a good bang. At least as a temporary solution. Failing that, I will get onto all my recon part contacts that I have. Let's see. Not even getting the pilot light in now. What a pain. Gotta try and get that gas valve. Tried again this time and pilot's lit, but still no main burner. Yeah, it's just not opening up. Ugh. So we've got the joyful task now. I don't know how my volume was in that job either, but we've got the joyful task now of trying to find that gas valve or the solenoid. But I couldn't get a solenoid off, so I don't want to order one and then just can't get it off. End up breaking it, so I think we'll go with gas valve. But yeah, because it's not going to be somewhere I can return the solenoid if it doesn't work. I don't know, watch this space. I'm sure you'll see it on the next return video. If not, new boiler time. So whack a heat only in there. Yeah, thanks for watching that one. I like coming across them old boilers. They're always a bit more fun to work on because they're not seen as regularly. But that does lead me to a point. Last time I had to call Worcester and Valent. Both of them now, or Valent no longer deal with any non-condensing boiler. They won't give you any technical advice on it, which I think is a bit rubbish really, because there's lots of boilers still out there that are non-condensing, and there's lots of newer generation engineers that aren't going to know about these boilers. Baxi still do, as far as I'm aware, and what are the other ones? Yeah, I don't know, but Glowworm and Valent are no longer giving any technical support on non-condensing. And Worcester have a special team. So I did ring up, did I show this video? Yeah, that 24i Junior. The one, what was the problem in the end? I want to say it was circuit board. One where lots of people thought it might be the overheat. But I replaced the APS. And then the circuit board had an issue as well because it fired up and then went out again. Yeah, go back, it's a few videos ago, but that's quite an interesting job. But when I called them to double check readings and whatnot on that, and when I was a bit stifled with that, I spoke to someone. He said, I'll have to put you through to a special team or get them to call you back because only certain people deal with non-condensing boilers. So how are they going to deal with this going forward? Because as I say, there's still a lot of these boilers out there, and a lot of newer engineers that don't have as much experience as, yeah, I've been doing this 20 years, so yeah, I forget some things or need to double check some things, but most of these boilers I've come across, so you got an idea still. But there's some people that have never seen some of these boilers other than ripping them out. So what's the solution? Who knows? So what I want to discuss is this the reason why I'm not getting many installations? Is that I'm generally opting to always repair things. It's just my way, I guess. And I've made no secret about my gas career. And it has always pretty much been service and repair until I started working for myself. So I'm most comfortable with service and repair. But I wonder how many people would have straight away said on this boiler, no, new boiler, rather than trying to source the obsolete gas valve. The same as the one a couple of weeks ago with the glowworm micron. And I got the file and I tracked that down high and low. And again, how many people would have just ripped that out? But I even see often I'll go to a job and someone will be calling me in maybe for a second opinion. And it could be, I don't know, an 8-year-old boiler, like 8-year-old Ecotech, say. And they've been told, nah, that needs replacing. And it's something like diverter valve's gone, or I had that literally recently. They were told they need a new boiler. They was given a quote for $4,500 for a Ecotech to Ecotech installation. And yeah, that's because the diverter valve was leaking. So whereas I went and I just said, no, I can get that part. When I replaced it, I can't remember how much the cost was, but about between 180 and 250. I cannot remember because I can't remember which diverter I got in the end, whether it was the brass one or the plastic one. But yeah, obviously customer's really happy. I've probably gained a customer for life. But is this why I don't really get much installation? I don't know. Right, let's jump on to tightness testing. I may have to do this in a couple of segments because there's a lot there and I need to read it and go through it. So I don't know if just speaking, I don't want to give the wrong information.
A few moments later.
So it's got super dark now within the space of like 2 minutes, but I am now fairly sure, I've read through the regulations again just to double check everything, and I'm fairly sure that I know what I'm talking about with regards to the natural gas and tightness test side of things. So it's IGEM up 1B edition 4. It's relating to domestic situations, like domestic gas situations. So previously we would tightness test and the permissible drop would be based on the meter type. So an E6 8 millibar, U6, U16 4 millibar. Obviously, if you do the test, you're within the permissible drop. That's it. Regulation-wise, you're fine to then call it a day. That's it. It passes. Now, that has changed. Sorry, if you did disconnect appliances, then there is no permissible drop on the gas carcass itself. So what's changed now in this new edition is that it no longer goes by meter sizes. It goes by installation volume. This is going to be an absolute nightmare because domestic settings, installation volume is almost impossible to work out in a normal lived-in house where things are going underfloor. So if you're not basically doing a refurb and stripping everything out, it's going to be practically impossible to do installation volume. So I don't know how that's going to work. But the way it works now is we have to work it out on installation volumes. There'll be a table in the new update which will give you your permissible drops based on that installation volume. So if it's under 1 millibar is the lowest permissible drop. So if it's under 1 millibar or within the permissible that's in the table, so I guess because we can't work out the installation volumes, it's always going to be the 1 millibar that you have to go with because you haven't got a clue what the installation volume is. Anyway, you have to check the installation volume, check the table, see what the permissible drop is. If you're within the permissible drop, the difference is now you still have to isolate the appliances if there was any movement on the gauge. If there's no movement, great, call it a day. If there's any movement on the gauge, just not part of the discernible drop, which is your 0.2 or your 0.25, then you still have to isolate appliances just to prove that your permissible drop isn't on the gas carcass. So, recap without me going off on a tangent. Carry out your tightness test. work out the permissible drop based on installation volume. If you have any drop more than the discernible movement, then you have to then isolate appliances to check that your permissible drop, which is now in a table, not based on meter sizes, is only on with appliances connected and not on pipework carcass only, where there is still 0 millibar drop. Hope that makes sense. Maybe I'll put something in the comments or the description to detail it. But let me know what you think in the comments, because I think this is going to be an absolute nightmare. So many people are going to think that we're just trying to con them out of money, trying to get new gas runs. It's going to be, yeah, absolute nightmare. But we've got to do what we've got to do. We've got to follow regulations. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Like I say, just calculating installation volume is going to be impossible on the most part. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, hype, and I say jump in the comments. Let me know what you think as well about my need to repair boilers as opposed to replace. Is this the reason I'm not getting many installs, or is it just how the cookie crumbles? Again, let me know. Jump in, and hope to see you next